All right, welcome into the BloodHorse live stream Breeders' Cup seminar. My name is Louie Rabaut. I'm alongside Florida-based handicapper Barry Spears. You know him from his work with me on the Horse Racing Happy Hour platform, but certainly from many, many other things. Barry, happy birthday. What a way to get to start this. I'm so glad you were able to make your flight today and that the government shutdown didn't keep you from joining us here at Martini Italian Bistro here in Louisville, martinilouisville.com. If you are ever in town, or hey, if you live here in the Commonwealth, a spectacular spot to check out for lunch, brunch, or dinner. Come on out and check them. A couple of sponsors tonight as well. Want to give a big time shout out to our friends over at Never Say Die Bourbon. We've got the rye whiskey with us tonight, and we've also got their straight Kentucky straight bourbon as well, aged in Kentucky, and then of course taken over to England to age for a year. The Horse Players Bourbon, go check them out ahead of Christmas. A great opportunity for a great holiday gift. There, well, Barry, getting into the Breeders' Cup, we're going to go through a couple of things to start here. But what do you always look forward to in the Breeders' Cup? Is there a particular race? I always look forward to the turf racing because we get all these great runners from Europe.
Yeah, I'm very partial to the turf racing because, in fact, you get those horses from overseas. You also get the best of what we have here, and those usually make for really good races. I know over the years, since 1984, you can go back and look at all the history, and all the turf races were excellent. I don't think that's going to be lost on this one either.
Barry and I will be at Del Mar starting tomorrow. Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays, we will have shows for you. 7 to 9 Pacific, 10 to noon, of course, Eastern Time on ESPN Louisville. You're welcome to join us. Kenny Rice, Steve Kornacki, Matt Bernier, Dan Issel, among the guests that we'll have on the radio side of things. Certainly BloodHorse, be watching the YouTube page. We will have BloodHorse at the Breeders' Cup available Thursday, Friday, and Saturday as well. Really looking forward to getting out to Del Mar and doing exactly that. If you are new to the sport, this is one of those weekends when we find new people hanging out around horse racing. And you might be asking, hey, what the heck is the Breeders' Cup? It's a 2-day get-together world championship event held the first full weekend of November on our sheet here, but really, we're going on Halloween, people. They're ruining my Halloween for a second straight year. On Friday, there are races for juveniles. In horse racing, we call 2-year-olds juveniles, and that's the first year that they really get out on the track and get racing. We'll have 5 of those races. We'll talk about those to open the show. And on Saturday, the races are for horses that are 3 years old and older. There are 9 races on that day, alternating between the dirt and the turf. And many horses, as I mentioned, ship in from Europe and from other parts of the world, including a strong Japanese contingent over and over recently in recent years. Tonight's betting menu, we're going to talk a little bit about betting basics in case you are new to the sport, different ways you can bet horses. And hey, we'll discuss those races in detail as well. Give you some basic elements that we try to look at in those races. Certainly, we'll put a couple ticks together toward the end of this and try to get value from some of those shorter priced horses, because at the Breeders' Cup, once in a while, you just have to admit that one of those horses, 2 of those horses are by far the best in the field, frankly, the best in the world at what they do. We'll try to make some money with those as well. And we'll answer any questions that they have here in the room. You're certainly welcome to comment online if you're watching on Facebook or on Twitter there as well. If you want to know how betting works in this world, maybe you're coming from the sports betting side of things, horse racing is pari-mutuel, which means you're betting against everyone else that's at the track. You put in $1, the track takes out their 10 cents, their 15 cents, and then they put the rest of the money in the pool, and then whoever gets the bet right gets the money. That's how it works. We include bets like win, place, and show. If you bet a horse to show, as long as they finish in the top 3, you get paid out. You're going to get paid less than if they win, and you have them to win. Place means that they have to finish in the top 2 for you to get paid that way. You might try an exotic bet, Barry, like an exacta, which is the
Top 2.
The first 2 to cross the finish line, and judges and all that stuff. But officially after the race, the top 2 in that race, a trifecta is the first 3. There you go. And then a superfecta, the top 4. But you have to have those in exact order. And if you try to put together a couple of different orders, that can get expensive pretty quickly. And so it's something that you got to have a pretty strong opinion on. And of course, you can try a multi-race wager. If you're in sports betting, this is a bit like a parlay. Think of it as a pick 3 is like a 3-race parlay, a pick 4 like a 4-race parlay, etc. You have to pick the winner in each of those races. You can choose multiple horses per race to include in your ticket, but every horse you add adds a cost to your wager. And hey, you should think about takeout as well, but tonight is not a time to talk takeout. Tonight we're going to talk about a number of races, including 5 races on Friday and 6, including all of the pick 6 on Saturday at Del Mar. There will be 3 races on Saturday earlier than that. If you'd like a comment on those, go ahead and hit us in the comments, or we'll talk to the folks here in the room. But let's get straight into it. Race 6 on Friday is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And I've got the wrong thing on the feed here. I apologize. So let me go ahead and get the right slides in here. There we go. All right. All right. And again, thanks to our friends at Never Say Die Bourbon for hanging out with us tonight on the live stream. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint is $1 million race. It is 5 furlongs, 5/8 of a mile on the grass course there at Del Mar. I'll go ahead and talk through this one if you are interested. I do an episode every year with a man named James Welsh, who is a Scottish fan. He jumps on the horse racing happy hour with me and gives his preview of all of the horses coming in from Europe. And they are the ones that tend to dominate these types of turf races. But he told me this year, hey, Louie, like most years, Barry, the American turf sprinters tend to be a little bit faster out of the gate. And when we're talking about a 5 furlong kind of race, we're talking about, hey, you got to get out or you're going to have a lot of ground to make up and, frankly, a big field to do it up against. Lenaloo comes in out of the BN Cone Barn in the 12 hole here, a little tough breaking from the outside, but this is one that I'm very, very interested in. They shipped this horse enough, I thought enough of this horse to run at Royal Ascot just this year. And the form since returning has been absolutely spectacular. So I look for her to have a big race in this one. And then if you're looking for a horse that might be a little bit more of a guarantee, look at True Love here. True Love is going to come in and is the best of the Euros here. Has a grade 1 win, has 2 group 2 wins, as they call them overseas. And you get Aidan O'Brien as the trainer. And so if you are looking for something like that, and they gave us 2 of the same, didn't they? Yes, they did. If you're looking for a horse like that, go ahead and check out True Love. Right behind her was Havana Anna, stride for stride last out with True Love, and was good over good to firm turf. So something we always have to look at when we're looking at these kinds of races with horses coming over from Europe are the conditions that they were running in. And in this case, many horses in Europe run in what's called softer go or good to soft, that sort of thing, where they've watered the track. It's a lot softer on the turf course. The idea there is, hey, if it's a little bit softer, maybe the horses can run a lot longer in their careers. In the United States, we tend to have more firm go. I think of Gulfstream Park when I think of the firmest turf courses in the country, for sure. But if you look at the form in here, if you see GF next to the form in Europe, that means good to firm. And I'm always looking for horses that have performed well over firm go in Europe to try to translate that to the conditions here in the United States. And so Lenaloo went over, was good at Ascot, and then you come back and you get True Love in here at in the 9 hole at 7-2. I think the price is a little bit short there. I like Lenaloo better at 8-1 than that. You do get Havana Anna, who was right behind him, or behind her, excuse me, in the last race. You can get her at 6-1. And the case for Havana Anna is essentially you get a better price, and she was stride for stride with True Love last out. And finally, Obliteration will break from the 5. This is a Group 2 winner. Obliteration, excuse me, a Grade 2 winner in the Saratoga Special, or excuse me, in the Grade 3 winner in the Sanford, ran in the Saratoga Special before moving to turf. And we saw this one in the Juvenile Turf Sprint at Kentucky Downs, run a second, came out just fine from that race. In the Indian Summer, I'm largely including this horse, Barry, because I think he's fast enough to win. Plus, we're probably going to get the full 15-1 on this horse in this spot. So if you're looking for a longer shot, I would lean on Obliteration. And as I said earlier, we'll look at the dirt races here with Barry. So Barry, you and I do a show called SoCal Saturdays. That is on the Horse Racing Happy Hour podcast network if you are interested in finding it there. So we get to see a lot of these dirt contenders from Southern California week in, week out. We're up on that. You've been high on a horse in Lawali for quite a while. She'll break from the 9 in Juvenile Fillies.
Yeah, this horse Lawali had a couple of perfect setups and kind of went wide both times. I think this race is a little bit different, even though Lawali is way on the outside in the 9 hole. I think this horse is going to get a better run based on the fact that there's more speed in this race, other than the Bob Baffert horses that this horse has been facing regularly.
And you like the draw outside too.
Love the draw because they can stalk that fast pace and pounce and try to, kind of kick clear home to win this race. But I really think the draw makes the difference for Lawali. Being outside is a good thing, especially with these young horses that don't really appreciate the kickback. And the fact that there's speed in here to stretch everybody out, Lawali's going to get a great trip. 10-1's a fair price with Flavin Pratt aboard, so I would take that every day of the week.
You're then on Explorer, who will break from the 7. I know the connection's real easy to pick out here.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Baffert is always loaded with young horses every year. Explorer is no different. This horse is very speedy. Will get out and get good position. But I think there's a lot of other speed in here to challenge that horse early that they may not have had in those 4, 5, 6 horse races that this horse has been in. But very formidable foe. This horse is really fast, and they're going to have to beat this one in order to win this race. I think Wally will have the best opportunity to do it. Faced this horse already a couple of times, so they know what they got, and I think the setup is good.
Lawali, Explorer both have that 2-turn experience as well in California, as you point out in the handout that we have and on the projector there online. You like Iron Orchard on the inside too, and I'm always interested, Barry, in how you feel about, say, the surface at Aqueduct, those deeper surfaces on Long Island, how they might translate California.
Yeah, it doesn't really translate exactly because Aqueduct's a lot deeper of a surface. And when you see horses run fast on that surface and they get off of it, they tend to run a little bit faster. And I think that's the case with Iron Orchard. This horse ran some sneaky fast races at Aqueduct and one at Saratoga, basically the last 2 races this horse had. Comes out of those races into the 1 spot here. So they're forced to get into the action early, and I think that's going to help this horse. Because they can sit behind a horse like Explorer, or if they let them go, they could be effective on the lead. So that versatility is going to make a big difference for a nice, young, talented horse in Iron Orchard.
Joel Rosario going to play an important part of the Breeders' Cup weekend with a ton of mounts and, frankly, horses he hasn't ridden before. So it'll be interesting to follow him again. I'm Louie Rabaut. He's Barry Spears. This is BloodHorse's Breeders' Cup seminar for 2025, presented by Never Say Die Bourbon. Go check out them on all the socials and certainly on that. We get to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. That's going to be race 8 here. And we get, Barry, one of those superstars coming over from overseas in the horse in Precise. And then the post position draw happened. And so this horse that I really, really like, who is potentially a match to Lake Victoria. If you were here for this last year, I looked at you in the face and I said, there is one single on the weekend. Her name is Lake Victoria. She won by 2 lengths. She was awesome. Precise has very much the same resume coming in. If you wanted a horse to key in on a Friday, it is the 13 horse in this race. If you wanted to say, Louie, that is way too far outside for me to bet that horse and I'm going to try to make some money and your name is Barry Spears, then I would never fight you because I think that's exactly how Barry feels. And so I'm of no 2 minds on this. I think that's the best horse in this race. And frankly, I don't care that she's breaking from the outside. And so I will ride her in this one. Precise 6-5. Does that number seem like where it's going to land? I think that's actually pretty accurate.
Probably maybe a little higher.
Yeah, you might get
closer to 2-1, maybe 8-5, 9-5.
Especially with 13 runners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Queen of Hawaii will break from the 2. She's won a Group 3 company last out. And when we look at these kinds of runners coming from overseas, one of the things I like to look for in the form is if they've tried going left-handed before. And so many races in England, like they sit on the right side of their cars to drive, their races as well are right-handed. They go clockwise rather than counterclockwise like we do in the United States. This horse has had success going left-handed. That was 2 back at Leopardstown over a mile, won easily in that race, came back into Grade 3 in the Irish EBF last time at Curragh, which is one of the very highest level tracks there in Ireland. Goes ahead and wins there, keeps all the connections shipping over here for Joseph O'Brien, who was part of the parade today, of course, of the O'Brien batch there. Pacific Mission will break from the 12 here, another Euro. I'm sure you're sensing the theme here. And this is an Andrew Balding, and this is one that if you are not making fun of me, but rather following turf trainers in the United Kingdom, that is a name that comes up quite a bit. Is Andrew Balding's name, and he is absolutely on the rise. And no doubt in my mind, he will win an Irish training title sooner rather than later. This horse, 2 back, one going right-handed in the Irish Stallion Stud Series amongst the fillies, but was really good in the Grade 2 May Hill last time in that company as well. I love that 15-1 price. So if you wanted to try to beat the 13, you might have to go outside to do that again with Pacific Mission. And then Infinite Sky at 20-1 is really, really interesting to me in this one. Pratt gets the mount here, and I think that performance last out is absolutely repeatable in the Jessamine. And so this is a horse that was flying late at the end. And I don't have to make the Luan Machado and Keeneland joke. I'm not going to do that. But we pick up Flavia Pratt here. And if this horse is any closer to the front than she was last time, I think she's got a legitimate shot if I get 20-1 on Flavia Pratt, this might just be the easiest bet of the day. And so much better breaking spot than Precise in this one. So I landed 13, 2, 12, and 4 within the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. We go to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It is sort of the Breeders' Cup Classic on Friday. This is for the boys. Barry's going to walk us through this one. $2 million race here, Barry. We're going to 2 turns. Baffert went 1-2 last year. You think he can at least go 1 this year?
Yeah, absolutely. The $3 million colt Brant has been excellent in all of his starts. He came out running. He's still running. And I think he's just faster than everybody in this race. I know his Byron numbers don't add up to what Ted Noffey has done, for example, but I think this horse is the goods. Working out great, excellent. It's not too many times that you get a horse that was bought for that much that actually shows it on the racetrack. Brant is very well balanced horse for those who like conformation, things like that. This horse is really, really good, and I think he's going to show it on Saturday.
He might be your Friday single, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Friday single for you, which is interesting as part of this sequence as well. You're also a works guy. You know, we had some conversation before this show started with the folks who have joined us here at Martini Italian Bistro in Louisville, and they asked the question, hey, what's the basic thing that you look at when you talk 2-year-old races with me? How they perform in workouts is very important to you.
Yeah, because you know these horses are still learning. They're not seasoned vets. They've only had 2, 3, 4 starts maybe. So seeing them in the morning get acclimated, you can glean some things in the afternoon as if they're figuring it out. And I think Brant figured it out early. This horse, you know, switches leads on cue and really finishes up in the works. And that's part of Bob Baffert's regiment. He survived, he's fast, and he's going to win.
Ted Noffey is the local favorite from Kentucky, the other top contender in this field. And something I like and you like as well about 2-year-olds, if they're undefeated after numerous races, and frankly, in Noffey's case, having traveled from track to track, wins at multiple places, super high level spots like Saratoga Keeneland, obvious contender here too.
Shows a lot of maturity as a 2-year-old doing that and winning in certain places, shipping in and out. You know, definitely the cut above the rest of these horses. So Brant and Ted Noffey really stand out over the rest of these. I think those are the only 2 horses in this race that are going to finish 1-2. I just like Brant a little bit better. Ted Noffey's undefeated, or actually lost his last race. He's undefeated on going 2 turns.
Right.
But that's also key because a lot of these horses are stretching out for the first time. It's hard to know how they'll react, but if you've seen a horse do it already, they already know what to expect. Second time they do it, they get a little better, and so on. That's what the kind of progression of improvement that you expect. And also, Ted Noffey is, you know, numbers-wise, the fastest horse in this field.
Yep.
So it'll probably be the one to beat, but I think Brant is just that much more seasoned and just a little bit better.
He gets home track advantage, frankly, too, or at least home region advantage there in Southern California. Comport comes in out of racing in Kentucky. Certainly Ellis Park Juvenile we saw, and then that's that 1.5 kind of turn down there in Ellis, but gets going in the Iroquois as well. You think that Iroquois performance was better than the past performances do show?
Yeah, it was a better, you know, the horse got a really good trip that day, projects to get a really good trip this day. And usually in these kind of races, there are some surprises. Horses that you would expect to run well won't, and horses that you don't will. And I think Comport is one of those. At 20-1 morning line, this horse has some speed, can get position. The race in the Iroquois was very, very good, despite what the past performances might show. And this horse will have to go early, and that might, you know, if this horse actually gets in front of Percy's bar, Comport's going to be dangerous.
Comport never worse than 2 in 4 career starts. Win second. Maybe it's in every other type. And we'll find out on Friday. Barry Spears, Louie Rabaut with you. This is BloodHorse's Breeders' Cup Seminar Preview for 2025. We're hanging out at Martini Italian Bistro. Race 10 is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. And another of these European quote-unquote super horses who's finished twice, 3 times in a row in his races is Gstaad. And again, the draw was amazing, frankly, because in every race, essentially, there was a horse that got stuck on the rail or a horse that got stuck on the outside that is a major contender. And we are absolutely seeing it in both of these turf races, first with Precise and now with Gstaad on the outside. What you want to look at with him is he is running in the world's best company, race in, race out. Frankly, I think he's the best of this group as well. The outside draw is a concern. So again, how I talked about the previous race in race 8 with the fillies If you wanted to try to play against, I'm not going to fight you here. But I think he's absolutely the best in this one as well. Argos is coming into his own here from the 9-hole under Flavien Prat. Riley Mott trains. This will be his first Breeders' Cup starter. He's like 12 years younger than me, so I don't hate him at all. But Flavien Prat gets the mount, and he won the Grade 1 Summer Stakes at Woodbine. And usually this wouldn't necessarily be a great prep because you only go over the one turn on that outer turf course at Woodbine. That's under renovation. They ran this on the inner turf course at Woodbine last out, and so that horse had to go the 2 turns. You're going to hear that from me a couple more times before we get to the end of this seminar, but I like that experience. I like the fact that Pratt's been aboard for the last 2, and that the first time this horse ran a mile, it did it very, very well. So I'll go ahead and put an American there in the second spot. Stark Contrast will break from the 8, and this is a local horse that ran really well in what's called the Zuma Beach. It's a Grade 3 out at Santa Anita. It's a mile race for 2-year-olds, and this is one that I thought was really, really impressive. The second that this one got to a mile stretching out, just found its pace. It just seems to be better for her, this daughter of Caravaggio. Kazushi Kimura keeps the mount, which I also like, knows the course there at Del Mar. I think that sets up well. And frankly, I think that 30-to-1 price you're likely to get all day long. And North Coast will break from the 6. This is another shipper from overseas from the Joseph O'Brien barn. This is one that 2-back won in the Tyros at Leopardstown in a very, very high-level race going left-handed. So this is a horse that's done the turn to the left twice, has won one, and then has finished second in the other, keeps McMonagle on the mount there as well. So an interesting race to close the card on Friday there in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Well,
sounds like Pratt is going to have a good Friday, huh?
If Louie is right.
Yes,
correct. That's
absolutely.
Right. So he's going to have a terrible Friday. There you are. Okay, there you go. So yes. But yeah, that is the Friday. Does anyone have any questions on Juvenile Day? Anybody that they were looking at that they have questions about, or anything that we might be able to glee or run through with you guys while we're there? If not, we will move on to Saturday, get moving on with our picks from there. But on Friday, Barry, is there a race in particular, now that we've gone through all 5, you and I have talked about these, put our handicapping guide together, is there a race in particular that you're looking forward to? Because I think both of these turf races, because of the draws of the best horses in them on the outside setup, I think the tacticians in that race, those races are going to have to be way on top of it. But I think that Juvenile might end up being a pretty bonkers race.
Yeah, that Juvenile is going to be a real good race. You're going to see some real good horses. But I agree with the assessment of the turf races. I think they're really up for grabs because of the post positions. You're going to see some wacky results, and hopefully we can put some money in our pocket and take advantage of it.
There you go. If you make money on Friday, that means you can spend it on Saturday. Let's get to the race. It's on a Saturday. The Distaff is the first race we are talking about. So we're going to go through the pick 6 on Saturday at Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup. This is BloodHorse's preview. My name is Louie Rabaut. He's Barry Spears. We're presented today by Never Say Die Bourbon. There's a big favorite in this race. Barry, you and I landed on different spots here for the Breeders' Cup Distaff. And in this case, I landed on Seismic Beauty, who is the local horse. This is the Baffert trainee. She comes out of the race there at Del Mar. Big speed figure, and you can tell that they were completely training up for this spot. And so in her last race, they give her essentially the same amount of time off as she had coming in to that race. And so she'll break up from the 8-hole here. She last ran in the Clement Hirsch out there. It is a Grade 1. A smaller field of 6 there, but she got the lead and kept the lead. If you go back, though, to the Santa Margarita, the race before that in a Grade 2, she went the distance that she'll be running on Saturday at 1 mile and an 1/8. She won that easily under Antonio Fresu. Juan Hernandez was out of town riding at a different circuit. And I think her 2 wins without Lasix, etc. She's now, 3 for 5 on the year with a second place finish, won her last 3. I think it's absolutely her race to lose. But Barry, I know in your case, you landed on a horse we both really like. I have Clico in my handicapping. I loved her going into the Grade 1 Cotillion at Parks. What do you like about her in this?
Yeah, I really like Clico in this spot. I've made this known in a lot of different arenas that I was a real big fan of this horse after the Indiana Oaks. This horse won that race off the pace, which nobody could do that day. I mean, it was a no passing zone. You could not gain any ground, and this horse somehow did it and won convincingly. Came back out of that race as well. It did others like Big Truz
Yes.
was that day. Didn't run a step, came out of that race and ran big, just like Clico did. And I think this horse can springboard into another good effort here. They're getting the setup, and there's not many good horses in this race, to be honest with you. I think Nitrogen is probably the best horse in this race, but is very post-challenge. The one spot is no good. They're going to either have to go to the lead or drop all the way back, and either situation is not ideal for a horse like Nitrogen, who does have a tendency to hang. Barely won the races on the dirt, and kind of doesn't really blow out horses often. I know you'll see that 17-length victory, but there was only 3 horses in that race, and nobody tried. But that being said, this is definitely the best horse in the race, and she will show up. I'm just trying to bet against her here.
Yeah, no, fair enough. She'll be 4-1 in the morning line. She'll break from the inside, like Barry said. She's an interesting one because we saw her also perform incredibly well on the turf. Frankly, the rare non-California-based horse running really well on both the dirt and the turf in North America. The other thing that stands out about Clico in this spot, by the way, is that she's just a flat winner. You're never going to get a bad effort for her. 4 wins in 5 tries. And since she really figured it out, really hasn't missed. The thing that stood out when we were in Indiana with her, just how professional she is. She came into a very busy winter circle. I think you could have set off a firecracker and nothing would have happened. And so I'm with you. I think she's just such a pro that she gets out there and just runs a really, really big race. Whether she wins or not, I'm not certain. But how much would you have leaned on Torpedo Anna if she were in this race?
Kind of have to,
Yeah.
Because she's proven it time and time again. She's a fighter. She's shown you what she has, and I think she would have been really great in this spot. Tough to beat.
Yeah, tough to beat for sure. We saw her paraded on Future Stars Day on Sunday at Churchill Downs, and I got to say that I love this about horses like Torpedo Anna. She was in the paddock. They were walking, and every time she would get to the tunnel, she would pull toward the tunnel. Like, let's go run. Let's go do it. Let's go do the thing. And it was fun to see that she still got that in her, because sometimes those mares just decide, hey, I'm done. Let's go do
I feel the same way when I walk by the park basketball court.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I feel like I can do it, and then my knees tell me I can't.
That's exactly right. Barry Spears, Louie Rabaut hanging out. With you, race 8 will be the Breeders' Cup Turf, one of the grand races every year, frankly, on the planet.
Yes.
We're going 1.5 miles here, which is 3 turns at Del Mar. We get a rare opportunity here, Barry, to see a horse like Rebel's Romance. And neither of us have him on top in this spot. But neither of us will be surprised if he wins. And both of us, frankly, will celebrate the fact that he will have won this race 3 times. It would be an incredible accomplishment. Where would that put Rebel's Romance, say, since 2000, of the top turf horses in the world?
Since 2000, I was thinking Ouija board, but
okay.
Yeah, it's got to be up there.
Top 5-ish, right?
Yeah, it has to be a three cup races is very, very tough to do.
Yep.
And that's kind of why I don't like this horse. They didn't draw well here.
Yep.
The horse is 7 years old. He doesn't look like he's slowing down though, but we'll see.
Really good effort at Aqueduct last time. You're on Amalok here. I want to let you go first in this one. And this is breaking from the 3, good post position here. But coming from overseas, what do you like about Amalok?
He seems to be a horse on the rise. He's 5 for 6.
Yep.
That says a lot, especially going in great Group 2 company and Group 1. The last 2 races he's won out of
the other race is 2nd place. Yeah,
right. and the horse that beat him that day kind of got the run of the race, and this horse was the best of the rest for sure. So I know this horse fits in this race. It's a matter of trip. And this one's kind of tough because there's not a whole hell of a lot of speed here.
Yep.
But I think Rosa Ryan is good enough and understands pace well enough to get this horse where they need to be in order to strike at the end. Obviously, these kind of horses, most horses coming from overseas, are not as fast as ours out of the gate or in general early. So they tend to lag. So when paces get slow, it does hurt their chances. But I don't think there's a lot in here, and I think they're all going to kind of have the same sort of idea, which could end up backfiring for everybody and some huge long shot wins. All things being equal, I think Amalok has a way better than 10-1 chance to win. They have a jock who's been here and won before.
Ralph Beckett?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I think all the elements are there. This horse looked good on the track all week. We're ready to go.
and has to carry 6 less pounds. This horse is carrying
That's
135
because
pounds
3-year-old.
as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And now gets to carry less weight as a 3-year-old. It's a really interesting pick by you there. I'm going to be really boring. And another one of those potential superstars coming over this weekend is a horse named Minnie Hawk. She's a 3-year-old filly. She's a daughter of Frankel. If you know your European turf racing at all, that is it. That is the top of what they do over there. They tried her in the top turf race in Europe in the Arc de Triomphe, and she lost by a head against older males, against everything else. She draws the 8. She's the one who didn't draw like the 14 of all the major favorites in here. She'll go off. I think 8-5 is probably about what she'll go, maybe 2-1, something like that.
Honestly,
Even lower than that, maybe even money. Okay.
Probably about 4-5.
If she brings that, do we agree on this? If she brings that form from the Arc, she wins here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No doubt. I mean, she could be half that and still win.
Okay. You have her second in your handicapping. I have her on top. We both have Rebels Romance in our handicapping. And here's the only thing I'll disagree about that you said about Rebels Romance is about the rail draw. We watched him last year go to the lead.
True.
He's got some weird versatility. He's smart enough. He's old enough. He's athletic enough that he can actually move into those positions at first asking. So I think there's a chance that he's there. And boy, my long shot. This is usually a very tight pick here. We're going to the outside, people. Ethical Diamond is going to break at 30-1 for someone named William Mullins. I'm kidding. Out of the Mullins barn. Won the Class 2 Ybor Handicap Stakes last time. If you go back and this horse's past performances, this is a hurdle horse, okay, who has moved to flat ground. And by the way, since doing that is 2 for 2 over good to firm go, one of those going left-handed. And so I'm very, very interested to see if this horse can go ahead and do that again. Those races were at Ascot and at York. There's nothing wrong with that. I love them trying it here. We're going to get back into into the flat racing with this one. I think it's absolutely an interesting move. And I just feel like this is a horse that is just going to stay. It is going to love the distance. And frankly, if it has good enough cruising speed, I think it can kind of just fall into an exacta trifecta kind of situation.
I think the idea that this horse was running hurdles in 2-mile races plus kind of equalizes the post position. Because even if they get a wide trip, you know the horse can stay there and still be able to finish. And that's really the key. If this horse can outfinish Rebels Romance, definitely deserves it.
Race 9 is the classic. We will not get into a debate on whether that's an okay thing or not. It is 1.25 miles on the dirt there at Del Mar. The defending champ is back. His name is Sierra Leone. In what, frankly, Barry, this race, when we heard that Fierceness and Sierra Leone and Forever Young were staying in training, we were all crossing our fingers and toes and eyes and everything else that this race would happen. And here we are, Saturday, we get Fierceness. We get the third best 3-year-old of this year in Baeza. We get one of the top 5 3-year-olds who just showed it in the Grade 1 good one against older horses in Nevada Beach, trained by Bob Baffert. We get Forever Young, the forever wild card in these kinds of races. Of course, Sovereignty, 5 for 6 this year, the one toe stubbing coming in that Florida Derby. Frankly, if that race had been in 1.25 miles, he probably wins that one too. The defending champ is back in Sierra Leone. The winner of the most consequential race of the year, Mind Frame, is in here. The winner of the Churchill Downs, and of course, the Stephen Foster after that. Journalism, the second best 3-year-olds in here. Oh, and let's not forget, Grade 1 winner Antiquarian's in here. And if Antiquarian's the afterthought at 15-1, this is a heck of a grade.
Yeah, this is probably the best race or best classic we've seen. Probably in
it's been 20 years.
Yeah, I was going to say
about
20 years.
Yep.
I mean, we got the top 3 3-year-olds,
yep,
the top 3 older horses squaring off with a couple of others mixed in, like Forever Young, Nevada Beach. I mean, it makes for a really exciting race, and I don't expect anything different or less. In this spot, though, this is really tricky because you really have to figure out what Fierceness and Mind Frame are going to do. And I think everything works backwards from there. Mind Frame could go to the lead if they want. He's that talented, or they could sit. It's really hard to tell what this horse is going to do, especially after the last race. The form is kind of muddied up because the jock fell off the last time and didn't get to go. They haven't run since, so you don't know if that form's going to translate or not. It definitely could, but there's also the adage of what kind of trip do they want. That being said, I think Fierceness drawing the rail will probably have to get involved a little earlier than they really want to. I know the Rabbit, contrary thinking, is going to go to the front. And if Fierceness is able to track that horse and not go head up with that horse, that would be the best scenario possible for Fierceness. I do think 4-1 is the pipe dream on Fierceness, even though I think he's the best horse in the race. I mean, he had a bad trip last time in the Pacific Classic, swerved in, almost, went off the course.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then kind of just overpowered that field and ran away from journalism, which says a lot. Which tells me that as far as the 3-year-olds go, Sovereignty is definitely a cut above the others. And I think he's the only one that can challenge these 4-year-olds and up. So I'm going to toss all the other 3-year-olds, except for one. And the other one is Nevada Beach, who I think is a much, much improving horse for Bob Baffert. He does this kind of thing often. He did it with Arrogate shipping out to the Travers, and that horse freaked at 9-1 when nobody expected it. And the horse is kind of coming into the race the same way Arrogate sort of did. Popped a nice race off the layoff, then stretches out, and this is a Bob Baffert staple. This horse is running excellent in the morning. You see that October 19th work, 111-4 in hand, and then one after that at 112. Those 6 furlong works go a long way in the Baffert barn, and I think Nevada Beach is going to outrun his odds.
So on top 4, Barry, Fierceness, Nevada Beach, and Sovereignty. He'll use those 3 in his.
I know about Sovereignty.
Yeah, Sovereignty popped the fever, so there is some question as to whether he will be in this race or not. Barry, how does that change how you handicap? Does that just make Fierceness that much more of a favor for you?
It does change the race a little bit because it would put journalism kind of back into it. And if Sovereignty is out, I would put journalism in that spot.
Okay, in your top 3. I went Sovereignty, Fierceness, and Sierra Leone. I think he's got plenty in the tank. We saw him last time run very, very well there at Saratoga. I think he's still got enough in the tank. He's going to get the kind of setup, almost certainly, that he got last year. The irony, of course, last year's, it was Fierceness that did the work for him. This year will be Contrary Thinking, who they are smart enough to pay to enter the race. And so I will throw him in my 3rd spot. I agree with you on Fierceness, by the way. I think if he just puts it together and just runs his race and runs in a straight line, he's probably the best horse in this field. That's a lot of ifs for that horse. And so it's a big question mark with the Fierceness. But Sovereignty, to me, class of the field, we've seen that versatility. Derby had to be a little bit further back. In the Belmont, much closer to the pace. We saw a repeat of that by the time we got to the Dandy and to the Travers. Interested to see if he is able to run. I know for the Godolphin folks, he's not a Breeders' Cup winner. He's their future sire of record. And so they are thinking about very different things than those of us giving handicapping seminars. But I hope that he will be able to run in this race. Of the other horses who are 10-1 or longer, who do you think has the best chance to at least hit the exact trifecta?
I'd say Antiquarian.
Yeah.
He's in great form.
Yeah.
Running well, likes to go long. He could pick up some pieces here.
Yeah, sure. I absolutely agree with you. And frankly, he's the kind of horse, he'll be part of that early pace. He'll want to be in the pressing group, right? I mean, that seems to be where they'll have him. I love Louis Sizemore, him too. I think that's a real positive, frankly, as we head out west with those dirt races. Barry Spears, Louie Rabaut, hanging out with you here at Martini Italian Bistro in Louisville. This is our Breeders' Cup 25 seminar on BloodHorse. We appreciate you hanging out with us and the good folks at Never Say Die Bourbon. Breeders' Cup Mile is race 10. We're back on the turf for this one. And Barry, this is interesting because this is the spot on the turf outside of the sprints that I think the American horses generally have the best chance, right? We're very used to these tighter 2-turn, 1 mile kinds of races. Frankly, in recent years, we've seen horses like Casa Creed perform really well. Johannes just last year ran incredibly well in the Breeders' Cup. But we get a couple of shippers as well. You and I, this is about as different as we are in the top 2 of any race here. I'll go ahead and go first. I think notable speech is really interesting in here. And I'm going on historicity as well. The Woodbine Mile is a terrific predictor of success at the Breeders' Cup. I mentioned earlier in the show that they're not running on that outside course at Woodbine right now. They ran it on the inner 2-turn course for this mile. So got the experience on that one. But to be fair to this horse, was in this race last year and almost won it. Okay. And so I think He's still running really, really well. This son, by the way, of the other major turf sire there in Dubawi. I just think that this one is still at the top. It's still Appleby. It's still Bill Buick. I'll take notable speech on top of my handicapping here. You went a very, very different direction with the 10. John Keel, what do you call him?
John Keel.
John Keel.
That's what I thought.
All right, let's go.
We'll
Let's
see.
run with that. You're in charge of the pronunciations.
This horse was really running well overseas, and then shipped in for the turf mile at Keeneland and ran a bang-up race from the 11th spot. This horse really didn't have a chance, but flew home late. And if you watch that replay, you'll see this horse like a blur come out of nowhere and finish in the top 4. I think that sets this horse up really, really well to run well here. The wide trip, they were really 3 to 4 wide the whole way around. Then horses only benefit from that when they get a little post relief or they get a better trip the next time. And I think John Keel is projected to get a really good trip.
Sounds like someone I went to high school with. Andrew Balding trains there. As you mentioned in the turf mile, Dylan Davis rode there. Gets back to Keene in the mount here. Was aboard in the Celebration Mile Stakes, which is a Group 2 at Goodwood in good to firm go. What I like too coming out of Keeneland, that was the horse's first experience going left-handed. And so got that. It's essentially, once a lot you talk about second time on turf, second time on dirt or synthetic, whatever it might be. In this case, second time going left-handed, I think not a crazy angle at all. You also have what did we decide?
Argene.
Attaboy. The pronunciation expert that is Barry Spears. Japanese bred here. Frankie Dettori picks up the mount. Did win the Hokkaido Shimbun High Queen Stakes last out. Speaking
That's
of
my favorite race. I don't know.
How about that? Everybody tunes into that one. But coming over from Japan, what did you see in this one?
This horse really likes firm ground. 6 wins, all on firm turf. Gets Dettori here, who, he's a really good speed rider, better than anyone would have thought of when he first came and moved his tack here. And he gets horses into the race early and is able to ration out their speed. I don't think this horse is the type that he'll need to be on the lead for, but he's going to need to be close enough to strike because these races are really, really quick for a mile. They play more like 7 furlongs, and the paces are usually a little bit hotter than what they're used to overseas, and that's usually what gets them beat. But it also can work to their advantage if there's enough speed for them to close into, and they close like freight trains. But I think Argene is probably Japan's best shot at a victory in this Breeders' Cup. 9
total shippers from Japan in the fields of the Breeders' Cup this year. Salon will break from the 3. I'll put that horse in my second spot here. Francis-Henri Graffard. Speaking of pronunciations, trains here. A rising French trainer. I think in about 4 or 5 years, that's going to be a name that we talk about alongside Aidan O'Brien at the Breeders' Cup every single year. Barcelona keeps the amount here. Won the Prix du Moulin at Longchamp last time. That's where they have the arc. That was over good to soft go, but this horse did win over firm go previously in the Prix Dauphiné, which was at Deauville before that. And so running in the highest levels in France. I talked with handicapper James Welsh the other day, and it was very clear to me that he thought the best racing in Europe on the turf was happening in France this year. He really thought that those meets were very, very good and would translate well over here to the United States. But I think that recent form really does show something for Salon, who I think will chase a bunch of money as well. Johannes comes for us as the most likely American winner here. But Barry, I'm not including this horse because it's an American. I'm including this horse because I think it has a chance.
Yeah, he's very good and has been very good. One thing to note about those French races, typically horses that come out of there like softer ground. Right. So it's sometimes it's hard to tell if they're going to take to the firm ground, especially horses that have been running there all along and then come here. You see a lot of them do go out west because I think the turf out there is a little bit kinder.
The marine layer and all
right.
that. Yep.
And they do well out there. But we'll have to see. But I'm agreeing with you. Johannes is definitely a really, really, really good horse. It's unfortunate that he didn't get as many starts or tracks at it this year.
Yep.
But I think he's in good enough form to make an appearance and hopefully kind of be right around it at the finish.
Winner of the City of Hope Mile, last out Grade 2 at Santa Anita. He has run at Del Mar twice, winning once, finishing second. The other time that second place finish was in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year. Not a bad finish, by the way, behind a horse named Northern Looks. So frankly, look, we've had American horses win this race before. It can absolutely happen again. in that spot as well. We move on to race 11, getting toward the end of the card here. The Dirt Mile is race 11, and we get one of those horses that was in that high-level Churchill Downs at the beginning of the year. And Nisos coming off a year-plus layoff from that Robert B. Lewis to the Churchill Downs. Goes ahead and, frankly, right behind Mindframe, but ahead of horses like Vanishing, ahead of horses like Book of Dano. This is a major, major talented horse. He's got to go a mile here. Do you like that?
Absolutely. I mean, this horse, you can see through his past performances. He ran fast from the get-go, and he runs fast every time he's on the track. So you have to respect him because he's that fast. He makes his own trip because of it. He's just so fast, people can't pass him. And that's kind of the thing you might need in a race like this, especially at Del Mar, where speed plays very, very well.
Yep. Where he's
again,
2 for 2.
These are like 7 furlong pace at a mile distance, and he's going to be on top of it. I don't see anybody who's going to get in front of him here. He should have the run of the race. 8-5 is a really good price on a horse that you know is going to show that much speed.
You mentioned those 6 furlong workouts. You can see the bullets next to them in the past performances as well, working at Santa Anita in sub 111 flat kind of times over the 6 furlongs there. Does have a 2 for 2 record at Del Mar. I like that in July they gave him the run in the San Diego Handicap, so he got the 2-turn experience. It is a mile and a 16th in that race at Del Mar, but a little bit shorter here. Frankly, he wins it if it's at a mile as well.
Probably.
And Pratt keeps the money.
But you know, one thing about what Bob Baffert does, and in general, you'll see his horses come out running, and they run fast early, and they don't jump up in buyer speed figures or speed figures in general. It's usually an incremental kind of rating. And you can see that with Nisos. He started out his first race, he was a 96 buyer, then went to a 97, 105, and he's staying right in that range. Not many of these horses can do that, which tells me that this horse is a little bit special. I think, you know, given his injury situation, if he's running more, he's going to get better.
Nisos on top for both of us. I'm leading on Baffert, Pratt, and the class of this horse, essentially, is what I'm leading on there. You and I are different in the second spot, same in the third. But you're going to go with Citizen Bull here in the second spot, the old Baffert exacta.
Yeah.
Look at you Bafferting out. Is there anything you'd like to say to Bob on the live stream here? So, Bob, you got great hair. Go ahead.
Win one for the sniper. But Citizen Bull, he's a 2-year-old champ, kind of fell off form a little bit by going on the Derby Trail, and I think that was a little bit out of his scope. I don't think he really wanted to go that far. I think the mile suits him. It hits him right down the middle. He had a really bang-up race last time in the Shared Belief against a tomato can-ish, including one of his own stablemates in gaming. But he dominated that event. They didn't even come close to him. JJ Hernandez understands how to ride this horse. He's going to put him on the lead or close to it. I mean, honestly, I don't think he's as fast as Nisos, and I think they're going to concede that to him. But they can always skate behind him and finish up.
With Juan Hernandez, I think he answered a lot of questions actually over Derby week here in Louisville, because he shipped out here with some horses, and he held up just as well against everybody here as he did anywhere else in Southern California. So certainly I think it brings company, especially on the dirt. He stands up against the jockeys there. I have Full Serrano on the second spot, the winner of this race last year. And I'm looking at just a home track advantage in this spot. He was also really good in the Grade 1 Goodwood last out. Much longer race than this one. I think gets back to the distance. He wants to go here. Your concern with Full Serrano is that maybe he's just a step slower than last year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he didn't have the same kind of campaign coming into this as he did last year. The Goodwood was an okay race for him. I don't think he probably should have lost that race, but he did. Nevada Beach is definitely a horse on the rise, so it's not like he lost to a complete bum or anything like that.
Bum talk.
But you know, I was disappointed in that effort. He'll have to definitely turn it around, especially at that price, 7-2. It's very low for a horse that might not have the upside as some others.
Joel Rosario aboard. He was aboard last year when they won this race together. Chancellor McPatrick is off to the breeding shed after this race. And that's an angle I love. When I know a horse is about to head to the breeding shed and they're trying to set a price, I know that they're going to be fully cranked for the race that they're running in very last. And it happens to be the dirt mile for him and Chancellor McPatrick. I think the mile distance is great for McKinsey's. So when we talk about breeding, and I know it's a 3-year-old, we've seen him and he's done all the things. I get it. But I think this is actually a really, really good spot for him. You think he's the best closer in the spot, though?
Yeah, I think, he was running in races that he probably shouldn't have been. A lot of those classic races, trying to get on the Derby trail, do that sort of thing, I think it hindered his progress. And when they kind of got him back to doing what they think he can do, because they sent him a mile and eighth in the 7th furlong, like they don't know where he fits. They're just trying to put him in a race to see what he does. I think the mile suits him perfectly. And
You're in charge of production.
the company that he's been keeping has been excellent all the way along, even though he's been losing. And I think his running style fits here, because when you have horses that fast, like Nisos, other horses tend to chase and they get tired, and then the closers have a chance to pick up pieces and get in the picture.
I think, frankly, if the Jerkins last out is at a mile, he probably wins it. I think he rallies, or at least he's in the top 2, something like that. I love the move to Jose Ortiz, frankly. I think that might fit him a bit better than Irad did. I think he did some better running early in his career under Flavio Prat, so maybe just a change in style for jockey there as well. Well, the last race on the card is the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. And I lied earlier. Barry and I are very different on this one. So I'll let you go first in this one, but we're going to mile 3/8, 3 turns there at Del Mar. I love this field, Barry. This is one of those races that you go to the Breeders' Cup for, is this kind of race where you've got a bunch of very, very, very good horses in this. You like Be Your Best breaking from the 7th.
Yeah, my impression of this race is that there's not too much speed at all. I think Stellify is going to get out there and kind of wing it. And that's what I'm hoping for, because Be Your Best is definitely the 2nd fastest horse in this race to sit behind that speed and pounce. This horse did the same thing, or the trip that I would like to see this horse get was the same one they got in the Pegasus Filly Mare Turf last year, or earlier this year, sorry. Kind of stalked the leader, took over, and outlasted, I think it was, who was it? The Weaver horse, Sacred Wish,
Yes,
who came flying, who was very sharp at the time. Be Your Best kind of barely hung on. But I like the fact that this horse came out west, won a race at Santa Anita, a grade 1, the Game League. Then kind of fledgled a little bit. And I think they probably needed to give the horse a little break, and they did. This horse comes into this race fresh. I think, Irad knows how to ride this horse. And being that there's not much speed, I think this horse is going to get the trip of a lifetime and capitalize on it. And if we get 30-1, I mean, I'll be happy as I can't even have the words for it. But
when we were talking earlier, you were also hoping for a return to that Pegasus form, right? So we've seen this from Be Your Best before. You're just hoping for a return to form with her, and I think that's completely reasonable. Another really good horse breaking from the very, very outside is See the Fire. I get 5-1 here. This is Balding, which I love, of course. Apparently my wife likes too. Who knew? But Murphy will be riding here as well. Comes out of the Prix de l'Opéra last out, going 1.25 miles at Longchamp. That was on Arc Day. This is the Filly race on that day, the Group 1 there. Murphy aboard for that one. Almost picks off this race. I think she's very, very much the best horse in this race. Won the Middleton, the Group 2 at York, going left-handed. Is everybody ready for this? At 1 mile and 5/16, which is only a 16th less than what we're talking about here. I love this, by the way. 12 lengths. 12 lengths in a Group 2 in England. Give me that all day long in good to firm. That was the last time that this horse got to go in a race like that. So I'm going to lean on that form. I think the Juddmonte Invitational was just a little bit too much, a little bit too early. We saw her get back to her better form last time. So I'll go ahead. I'll try the outside horse again. Apparently that's going to be how I'm going to live or die this weekend.
Well, amazingly, it's a class relief to go from that to
Isn't it
a
amazing?
Breeders' Cup.
Yep. Especially on the Filly and Mare side. Right, exactly right. So the 14 will be on top for me. You landed on one just a couple of spots inside in Belleza. The Irish bred here. Tyler gets them out for Miguel Camargo.
Yeah, this horse actually ran down Be Your Best in the Flower Bowl and did it well with Rodriguez up. And they switched to Tyler Gaff, who I think fits this horse a lot better. He's a lot more patient, and he gets horses in position around the turn. And I think that's what this horse needs, is to get clear and get a good run. Obviously, the horse can run down others, speed types, but there's not much in here, and I think this horse can kind of outrun that. Not so sure about the foreign horses, especially the outside horse, the 14. See the fire. It's going to be a tough task. I mean, that horse is probably the class of the race, but the post position is the great equalizer here and makes that horse kind of on equal plane with everybody else.
I landed on Cinderella's Dream in the second spot, and this is a horse that does her best running over Firm Go. We've seen her 2 back in a Group 1, run 4th in that spot with Bill Buick aboard. I get Bill Buick again, a combination with Charlie Appleby. And look, this is one that won in a Group 1 in the Fall Mistakes at Newmarket, ran again, has just been in that very, very high class sort of race. A lot of them going straight, but does have experience going left-handed in the balance sheen. That was at Maidan. Over their turf course there. So this is a horse that's made the trips before, traveled a long distance before, and shown up just fine. This is the one that I think I'm not going to get 9-2 on. I think this is one that'll trick down just a little bit because of Bill Buick. If he has a big day, for example, it could set up. I think she's probably like 3-1, something like that by the time we get to the gate. At some point, Charlie Appleby's going to have a massive day on Breeders' Cup Day, and this might be part of that contingent. You have Cinderella's Dream in your 3rd spot. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think this horse is very, very formidable. Had some bad luck in recent years and in certain races, which could carry over in here. But class-wise, the 9, Cinderella's Dream, and See the Fire, probably the top 2 as far as class goes.
I have another Charlie Appleby in 3rd here in Diamond Rain. Comes out of the EP Taylor, grade 1 at Woodbine. Before that was running in Wait for Age races and British EBF type races overseas at Haydock in Newcastle. The move to Woodbine was actually a step up in class for this one. So this was going against horses, frankly, that were a little better than was she was facing in Europe. 1.25 miles. She doesn't quite get there. Gets a little bit more distance here, and I like that a lot for Diamond Rain. I think that gives her an opportunity to be involved at the end and, frankly, be a little bit ahead of what is going on with others. You see her to 1 mile and 3/16, etc. She is ready to go the distance here in this one as well. Well, on the last page, I'm sure you'll notice Barry and I have a couple of wagers that we're going to try. We'll put together one for each day on the very last page of your handout, or if you're watching online, it's up on the screen right now. Again, thanks to our friends at Never Say Die Bourbon for hanging out with us. He's Barry Spears. I'm Louie Rabaut. This is Blood Horses 2025 Breeders' Cup preview, handicapping preview, if you will. On Friday, we are both playing the same pick 3, and boy, are we playing it differently. I'm going to single those 2 outside horses in the turf races that I talked about, and I'm going to include 4 horses in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. If you wanted to spread a little bit more and lower the base wager on this, I would be totally supportive of that. But frankly, I think you're going to have to get skinny because if those 2 horses win, to maximize payout, you're going to have to press your opinions in this one. So I went 13 in race 8, 1, 2, 7, and 8 in the Juvenile, and 14 to close the card. Barry, you have a very different ticket.
Much different. Kind of going the direct route here. We're going to use 3 horses in race 8. Ultimate Love, who I have in my notes as bouncy, which means that horse just ran away from horses last time. I like that race an awful lot.
Bouncy, huh?
Yeah.
A little bouncy talk.
Very,
Okay.
yeah,
How about that?
very bouncy. I'm also going to use Final Accord with Jose Ortiz. This horse is undefeated also, ran a really good race in the Matron, which perennially is a good prep for this race.
Yep.
And we're going to use the...
You went too far. There you go.
Yes, went too far. The 9, Time to Dream.
Yes.
Johnny V, I'm sorry, Irad Pletcher. This horse just missed in the last race of the Jessamine. Was flying at the end.
Awesome.
Yeah, just was very unlucky not to win that race. 5-1 seems like a really good price to start off a pick 3.
On Saturday, I'm going to play a $1 pick 4 starting in race 7. Barry's going to play a late pick 3 starting in race 10. So you see one overlapping race in this spot. I'm starting with the distaff. I'll go ahead, and Barry and I are going to massively disagree here on this one, but I'm going to use the backward horse as a single in here in race 7. Her name, of course, is Seismic Beauty. She'll be breaking from the 8 in the first race, so single the 8 in the distaff. If she loses, start a pick 3 in the next race with Rebels Romance and Mini Hawk, who I will be using alone in that race. And then in the next couple of races, 1, 3, 5, 6, and 7 in the Classic, that's where I'm going to try to get a little bit of a price. Hopefully a horse like Nevada Beach comes through. Maybe a Forever Young gets a little bit forgotten. Maybe even people doubt that Sierra Leone can get the trip again. I don't know, but if they doubt him, he's 10-1, 12-1. He's forgotten in these pools. Might be good for us as we put this together. And then 2, 3, and 7 for me in the final leg. That is the Breeders' Cup Mile. I'm leaning on Notable Speech, Salon, and of course the 7 Johannes, the American-based horse. Barry, you're going to go with the late pick 3, $5 base on this one.
Yes, we're going with the 9 and 10, who I spoke about before, Argene and John Keel.
So that's the one overlap race there that Barry and I disagree on.
Yep. Then we're going with our buddy Nisos. Who else did I get?
3, 7, and 8.
Oh, so we're going to use Nisos, of course, because I think he's the fastest.
And then you want to try Citizen Bull and
Citizen Bull,
Chancer.
the same horses that I went over, and Chancer Patrick.
Yep.
We're going to use those 3, and then we're going to single, and I say single because this is kind of a bold single, right? 30-1 shot.
Just a
Be
little
your best.
bold.
Right. So we're going to single Be Your Best in a $5 pick 3, $30. The upside on this bet is really high if Be Your Best is 30-1 or
Christ. If you get
higher.
like Chancer and then Be Your Best in that thing, I mean,
Right.
goodness gracious. Yeah, you're going to be.
That's a hero bet, honestly.
It's a Breeders' Cup bet.
Right.
Let's call it what it
Yeah.
is. Again, thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to wrap it there. Thanks to our friends at Never Say Die Bourbon. I've got bottles to show you. Hold up the rye. I will hold up the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Starts its life in Kentucky. They ship it overseas. Spends a year in England. You get those 2 different weather patterns. Delicious, delicious bourbon. And frankly, a great holiday gift coming up for the horse player in your life. Want to thank our friends here at Martini Italian Bistro as well for hosting us here. Thank you to everyone in the room. You're allowed to clap, by the way. You had a nice time or something like that. Feeling up in the room. Again, join us on ESPN Louisville Radio. You can stream it anywhere in the world. Just ask your smart speaker to play it if you have iHeart, or you can download the app from the station, completely free to you. Plays on your iPhone, your Droid, whatever you are doing. Thursday and Friday, 10 to noon Eastern, 7 to 9 Pacific. You'll hear from the 2 of us. You'll also hear from NBC's Matt Bernier, Steve Kornacki, Kenny Rice, and my guy, the Kentucky Hall of Famer, Dan Issel. Get in with that. And then, of course, all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we will have BloodHorse at the Breeders' Cup available on the YouTube page at BloodHorse's YouTube page, excuse me. So please check out all of that coverage as we take you through. And by the way, if you're out there at Del Mar, say hi.
Yeah, please
We like
do.
meeting people.
Please do.
And if you're watching online, we appreciate you as well. For Barry Spears, my name is Louie Rabaut. This has been BloodHorse's 2025 Breeders' Cup Seminar. I appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you out at Del Mar.